Hey guys, I hope everybody's having a fantastic day. Whether you're watching this in the morning, in the afternoon, or in the evening, I'm glad you're here. Take a quick second to thank all my channel members. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And if any of those of you are new and you feel so inclined, it would help me greatly if you'd reach down and hit that subscribe button and that bell notification icon next to it. I would really appreciate it. Today, I wanted to give you guys my overview, long-term thoughts, everything short of hard use and cut tests. I have been living with this Vosteed Corsair now for going on close to 2 weeks. Picked it up from White Mountain Knives when they came in. Was very impressed with the look of it. I had yet to try a full-size Vosteed with a bar lock. I had tried the little Nightshade Mini that has a bar lock, but it's a much lighter setup all the way around. So when we look at the Vosteed Corsair, the first thing I noticed about it when I ordered it is it came in a lot of different finishes, right? There are a lot of different colorways that you could get. And I chose this kind of brown micarta with the Stonewash blade. I think all the blades are Stonewashed. I'm not 100% sure. But this blade is Nitro-V. It does have Nitro-V branded here on the blade, as well as Corsair behind the thumb stud, the name of the knife. And then over on the show side, you have the small Vosteed down right by the swedge there, or yeah, whatever. But this knife is, from an ergonomic standpoint, from a cutability standpoint, from things like the sharpening choil being well thought out, I think it's hits a lot of marks. There's a lot of things that this knife does very, very well, and I'm very impressed with it. One thing that I personally would like to see done a little bit differently is this is that waxy micarta. A lot of people really like it. I don't know if it's been treated with something, but it does feel nice, but it doesn't feel as soft as the micarta that I'm kind of used to. For example, on the Civivi Baby Banter, you can see that that's a little furrier, where that's a little more waxy. It's not waxy in a slippery way, not waxy in a bad way, but that's just one small negative I wanted to point out. The only other small negative that I would point out is these little brass pivot collars that look kind of nice. I think they're kind of cool, but there's no other brass really to pick it up. So I kind of wish those had been left just stainless. I think it might have been a little bit more, what would I say, matchy-matchy, neutral. But a couple of really cool things about this knife, and the first of which is the action. I don't know what Vosteed does differently in their bar locks, and I've yet to take this one apart. I can tell you that you do have much more of the bar lock protruding from the body of the knife, and you've got a bigger bar than I do in my Benchmade. Now, I'm assuming, as I look in the side of here, since I've not taken it apart, the springs inside the Vosteed do look thicker. Now, that will do things like give the detent a little bit more pull, which in turn gives you more snap from the thumb studs on a bar lock. And then it also is very good about sucking that blade in where it doesn't bounce, because again, those springs are strong enough to keep it back in. But it's got a deep carry clip. I want to say these are probably going to be T6s. Yeah, T6s on the body, T6s on the clip, T8 on the pivot. I wish that, and I'm sure T6s on the thumb studs. I guess if you wanted to change those out, that would be one thing I would ask Vosteed, if there's any way that they've thought about upgrading all their hardware to T8, kind of like Micarta has. Again, it makes it not only less likely to strip one of the hardware screws, but it also gives you that peace of mind that if you've got one tool, one bit, you can kind of take the knife apart. This knife is, again, in Nitro-V. I call it kind of a spear point, drop point. It is very slicey. It came very sharp. Let me grab a piece of very thin Smoky Mountain Knife Works paper. And this knife will simply glide through it if I hold it right, which I don't often do. Very, very sharp. And I've noticed that in the other Vosteeds that I've picked up, that they do come from the factory very sharp. And the best I can tell, and I don't have any tool to measure this, but the grinds look very even. You've got this nice swedge going down the blade here, and I can get a full 4-finger grip on that knife. You've got a little choke up point here behind the choil. If you want to use it, I think the jimping and the grip for me works fine. This is not big enough for a finger choil. You're just going to have to watch to make sure you don't get materials cut in that or caught in that. But this knife works great in a lot of different grips. And the axis lock, or excuse me, the bar lock is tuned very, very, very well, both for the reverse finger flick or for the thumb flick, or if you just want to flip it out with the bar lock. And again, it does feel, not only because it protrudes out further, it's got a lot more tension that you have to apply to it to get it to pull back, which is going to translate into a seemingly stronger detent and seemingly stiffer, a little bit stiffer action. That's in my experience. Show you a couple things that came in the box that I found ingenious when I got this. And it was this right here. At first, I didn't know what it was. The other thing that comes in the box, besides your sticker, your pouch, all your good stuff, is for some reason when it ships, you've got a reversible clip here. And I guess it makes sense when it ships to leave this plate and these clip screws in the bag right here, because some people are going to get this, since it's an ambidextrous knife, and immediately flip that clip. So no need to take that out, switch that around. So what they do is they leave the pad or the little plate and the screws in here. So if you're not going to switch the clip, like I wasn't, I just installed the little keeper there. If I was going to switch the clip, or at any time want to switch the clip, it'll pop in right there and the filler tab will go in right there. The other thing that I found was ingenious. You'll notice here that there is no lanyard hole for the lanyard lovers, right? And I can understand that people that like lanyards are going to miss that. Vosteed did not forget about you. Vosteed is smart enough to come up with this little contraption here. It's a little pin that holds it in place, because I have put it in and then I took it off just to see how it would fit. So basically, once you get this lined up on this little, for lack of a better term, backspacer, what it does is it installs, let me take these pins out. If I loosen that body screw up, which I probably should, okay, bear with me, guys. So what I have to do is I have to take this screw out. We're not going to go crazy on this. But then you replace that standoff with that pin. Your backspacer goes in like this, but it still hangs off there enough to give you that lanyard piece right in the middle. I don't know if you guys can envision that. The backspacer pins in right here, so it flushes up right here, and you get this little part in the middle hanging out for your lanyard. I thought that was pretty ingenious. You know, it's very easy for a manufacturer to say, well, we've got an ambidextrous knife, we're going to do a flippable clip, but, you know, we're not going to do anything for a lanyard because it doesn't really fit with the design of the knife. Well, I thought this was a very unique way. When I first got it, I was thinking, why would they not install a backspacer if they're going to offer you one? And I kept trying to see how to get it to install, and it actually does not. It installs just like this. So it's not as much of a backspacer as it is a way to get that lanyard integration in and still not upset that grip too much. I don't do lanyards, so therefore I haven't put it in yet. I'm going to pass it along to the next guy in case they do. But again, I thought it was very cool, thinking a little bit outside the box, not something I see every day. Actually, it's the first time I've seen it, and I thought it was pretty cool. Now, what didn't come in my box were extra axis springs. Not that that's a big deal. I'm just saying, so you know, they didn't come with it, but it did come with the extra hardware for the pocket clip and the plate, as well as the backspacer for the lanyard. So let's do a couple of quick size comparisons to this guy. Let's start off with the Cold Steel 4 Max since we've got it. And the Civivi Baby Banter, smaller than the 4 Max, much bigger than the Baby Banter. I love the way it looks, guys. I love that little swoop down there. Let's look at it next to the Benchmade Bug Out. It's a little bit longer than the Benchmade Bug Out. So in that case, let's bring out a PM2. And we'll see that it's a good bit longer than or shorter than the PM2. A little bit longer than the Bug Out, maybe an eighth of an inch, not much. So it's right in there, we'll say, with the same size as the Bug Out. And then we'll break out Javon's promotional tape measure with a sticker. And it will tell us within reason that this knife is right over 7.5 inches long with a 3 1/4 inch blade and a 4 1/4 inch handle. Cutting edge is going to be 3 1/4. That grip space behind that trigger is going to be 3 3/4. From here to here is 3 3/4. If you like to use the nub up there, you're looking at 4 inches to right here, just depending on how you like to use the knife. It's a very light knife, so I am curious to see what it weighs. Let's see what the blade thickness is. 0.1170. I think it's very thin behind the edge, guys. I'm not good at measuring behind the edge. 0.0130. Now, what I'm curious about is what this guy weighs. .95 ounces. Guys, that is very light by almost all standards for a 3 1/4 inch blade, right? If you look at an ounce an inch, but this knife, Nitro-V, perfectly centered. I paid right under 80 bucks retail, and then I used Javon 10 to knock 10% off. So this was not the cheapest budget knife that I've picked up when I look at some of the Migurons, but for a value knife, I think it's done very well. You've got full length, solid scales in here, not solid, they're milled out. So I don't know if you guys can see those down there. They're milled out for weight relief. But instead of having just the little hardware or the little liner up around the bar lock, they've got it the entire length of the knife, which makes it very, very sturdy. Doesn't give it any flex, but it's still very, very light. So I think Vosteed's done a great job in coming out with a knife that is what I would call an everyday user knife. I would not call it a budget knife, but I would call it a value knife. I would ask you guys if it appeals to you in terms of the way that it looks, in terms of the way that you guys like different locking mechanisms. I can tell you that I really like this knife. I've enjoyed carrying the knife. It reminds me of other knives, from the Benchmade Bug Out to the Asher Spiro to, um, I could go on and on. I mean, the Hogue Deca Drop Point. It's just a very well built, well put together knife. And I'm glad to have gotten to try it out, guys. This is the Vosteed Corsair. There are or were in stock at White Mountain Knives. They'll be in stock everywhere. I'll put a link to where I picked this up. And if this colorway is out of stock, look at others and feel free to put your email address in there. If you want to save 10% on any White Mountain Knife order, except for stuff like Hinderers and Jack Wolfs, throw in Javon 10, save you 10%. Guys, thank you, thank you, thank you for watching my video. Thank you for coming around my channel and coming back. And guys, please look out for the guy or gal to your left. Please look out for the guy or gal to your right. Look out for one another. Go forward with love in your heart. Choose debate, not hate. I love you all.